Welcome, riders, ridettes, and pillions. I'm Elliot, this is the Van Blam YouTube channel, and this is a 2022 Harley-Davidson Pan America Special. This is one of Harley's rare forays outside of the cruiser and touring bike segments, and their first foray into the adventure bike segment. I was lucky enough to borrow this bike for a couple days, and this video is my first impressions. So what is the Harley-Davidson Pan America? Well, the answer to that may seem pretty obvious at first. It's an adventure bike in the full-size displacement class. Yet the Pan America is still a highly unusual machine, and that has a lot to do with who made it. Harley-Davidson is a company who, in my eyes, thinks that innovation just means finding new ways to stay the same. But it turns out that when they let their engineers off the leash, they can get pretty creative. I come to this bike with fairly limited experience with Harleys. The only other one I've ridden is a Lowrider S, and I'm also coming in with fairly limited experience with adventure bikes. So for the most part, I will be looking at the Pan America just as a motorcycle in general. If you clicked on this video because you're interested in the Harley-Davidson Pan America, let me know in the comments below. Are you interested in it because it's an adventure bike? Are you interested in it as a sport tourer? Or are you interested in it because you're a fan of Harleys? I have a feeling that the Pan America is going to convert more fans of the adventure bike category to the Harley-Davidson brand than the other way around. But I could be wrong. Let me know. So anyway, now that we've spent some time riding the Harley Pan America, let's talk about riding the Harley Pan America. Let's start with the motor, the Revolution Max 1250. It's 1250 cc's, as the name implies, and it's a V-twin, of course. This is a Harley after all. But unlike their usual fare, this is a pretty modern unit. It's liquid cooled, chain-driven cams, making 150 horsepower. Wowee! Oh man! And I mean, you saw that was not even close to the top of the rev range. I'm riding in road mode, and so far it's not coming across as one of those motors that's just begging you to rip it all the time, but it is fun to get on the gas. Oh, that was a wheelie. You don't have to ask very much of that throttle, and it will show you that it's got the goods. Can't really say the same for the brakes though. They are good. I mean, it's dual disc Brembos, but you have to really mash on that lever in order to haul this thing up in a hurry. Pan America, or at least this particular one, is equipped with a quick shifter, which is a lot of fun to use. It's not the best one I've ever used. that would probably be Yamaha, the one on the Tracer GT, but it still feels pretty decent. I would say it's probably about on par with the one I used in the Triumph Street Triple R. You kind of have to be on the gas, you know, like maybe half throttle or more in order for it to feel really snappy and responsive. Otherwise it has kind of a jolt to it, but that's fine. And I'm actually not really finding myself using it on the downshifts just because I enjoy blipping the throttle to rev match myself. Handling wise, I mean, for my purposes, it is better than satisfactory. Honestly, better than my Speed Twin. That's awesome. So yeah, I am not a super sport rider. I've never claimed to be a super sport rider. I do not demand the utmost razor sharp ballistic performance from my motorcycles. So I can't tell you whether or not the Pan America is capable of delivering those things, but it's fast enough for me. Ask me again after a day in the mountains. But as far as I'm concerned, this doesn't give up any sporting performance that I actually need. And here we are, riding in the city. Have been for a few minutes now, actually, and I can already tell you that this is not your dedicated city motorcycle. It's just a lot. It's a lot of bike. It's heavy, it's, you know, so much more power than you need around town. And the biggest thing is that it gets really, really hot. And we have some brutal, brutal summers in DC. If I had one of these in my garage, I would probably only ride it through the city when I was on my way to leave the city. I don't know that I'm feeling brave enough to lane split today on somebody else's motorcycle that weighs more than mine. Here, we'll do a little one car filter for you. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I had my toes on the ground there, but it can be done. I'm not used to riding motorcycles with any wind protection at all, and the lack of airflow is kind of getting to me here. I am sweating, and it's not that hot of a day. So in the city, the Pan America is all right. I think it will be much better on the highway. .150 horsepower is no joke. Yes, I do blur out my speedometer when I do that. Would that stop a cop from coming after me if they saw this video? Probably not if they're motivated enough, but I do enjoy playing with the effects tools in Premiere. So we're out here on the freeway, which in my personal living situation is something that an adventure bike needs to be good at. And the reason for that is that I live in a city that's pretty far removed from the nearest dirt roads, which I discovered when I tried to review the Ducati Desert Sled. I rode all over the place and I couldn't find a dirt road that I could access. No, if I wanted to take this thing up into the mountains for a weekend of moto camping, I'm looking at least 2 hours on the freeway before I can get there. For me, if something's gonna be good on dirt, then it also has to be good on the super slab. So we're cruising along at just about 70 miles an hour in 6th gear. It's a 6-speed, and we're sitting at about 4,000 RPM. I find that to be typical for 1200cc twins, but I do wish it was a little bit lower. So I want to talk about this windscreen. It's adjustable, and you can quickly adjust it on the fly. It's got 4 positions, and right now it's in the lowest one. I am 5'9" in boots in the morning, and I'm feeling just a little bit of air coming in through the top vents of my Shoei RF 1400, not through the chin vents. I actually kind of like it. It's a cool day out, so that air is really noticeable. If I take the windscreen and raise it to its highest position, which also comes back a bit, I no longer feel that air hitting the top vents of my head and coming into the helmet. I do feel like I'm still getting some air on the top of my head, but, you know, it's above where those vents are. If I duck down like this, I am in complete silence. I've been in louder cars than this. Back up again. Now I can hear some wind. Lower the windscreen. And now I can feel that air through those top vents. Worth noting, I do have the seat here in the low position. I think it can be made like a half-inch higher, maybe an inch higher. Now that I've been out riding basically all day at the time that I filmed this clip, I'm finding that the air inside my helmet is like very stale and stagnant. And I think that might just be because I'm not used to riding with a windscreen. Having this windscreen here, especially in the high position, really, I can feel how air is not getting into my helmet. I can smell my hair. Like, I know what a helmet smells like after I've been wearing it all day, and normally I don't smell that until after I stop and take it off. But I can smell it right now as I'm riding, and I think that's because I'm getting no ventilation. And if I stand up, oh yeah, that's the stuff. Feel that in my whole body too. My arms, my armpits, my chest. If I was gonna do a long road trip on this motorcycle in the middle of the summer, I'd probably be standing for half of it. You know what, with this exhaust on here, the entertainment factor on the highway is not lacking. Does this bike cruise like a freight train in the way the Lowrider S does? No, it doesn't. But I think its highway cruising ability is more than up to par for the segment. Now, let's find some place to stop, get some B-roll of this bike, and do a little walk around. And here we are. When I do a walk around like this, it's mostly to talk about the looks of a motorcycle. And I think that the Pan America Special looks really good. Really good for a motorcycle in general, but awesome for an adventure motorcycle. Let's be honest, the ADV category is not where you'll find very many of the world's prettiest motorcycles, but I think that Harley absolutely nailed it with the looks of the Pan America. I know the front end styling was kind of controversial when they first revealed it, but I honestly think that's one of its best features. It's got that big, wide, guppy mouth, and it is very reminiscent of the current road glides, which a lot of people do love the way those look. This color is, of course, vivid black, but the Pan Am comes in 2 or 3 others as well. My personal favorite is the Gauntlet Gray. I think that's one of the best paint colors in all of motorcycling today. If you opt for the base model Pan America, it's actually only available in black, so if you want any other color, then you have to go for the Special. So what else is different about the Special? Well, the 2 important differences for me. One is that on the Special, you can opt for it to come with spoked wheels. You can also get those for the standard, but you have to buy them separately, and it's like an additional $2,000 expense. The really crucial difference, though, is the suspension. The Special gets an electronic suspension with a bunch of different modes, you know, comfort, off-road, sport, all that good stuff. And they have a feature that I have never heard of on any motorcycle before, and that is automatic ride height adjustment. I'm sure you've heard this before, so I'll keep it brief, but basically, as you come to a stop, the suspension lowers itself so that you can get your feet to the ground more easily. Then you take off again, and around 10 miles an hour or so, it lifts itself back up so that you get the advantage of the full suspension travel out on the road. I cannot express enough how crucial that feature is for me. The reason that I don't have a lot of experience with the full-size ADV category is because I'm not very big. I'm 5'8" with a 30-inch inseam, and I'm not particularly strong. I can handle bikes that are kind of tall, and I can handle bikes that are kind of heavy, but I generally cannot handle bikes that are both tall and heavy. And that's what full-size ADVs are. Look at the Ducati Desert Sled that I reviewed not too long ago. It has a seat height of this and a curb weight of this. and I was teetering on that bike. If it were any heavier, it would have been too tall for me. And if it were any taller, it would have been too heavy for me. Does that make any sense? So then take the flagship adventure bike category, look at the BMW GS. That seat is this tall, and that bike weighs this much. The KTM 1290 Adventure, that seat is this tall, and that bike weighs this much. Triumph Tiger 1200, this tall, this heavy. Honda Africa Twin, I love that bike, but it would need to be either 60 pounds lighter or an inch shorter if I were to comfortably ride it, especially if it's going to go, out into the backwoods, onto the trails. On a road like that, you may come to a stop somewhere and try to put your foot down and find that there's a rut or a hole there, and down you go. The Pan Am seat, it lowers from this to this for the Harley engineers to just really get creative and hook us short guys up. I just appreciate it so much. That's a huge selling point for this bike. If I were to buy one, I would get the Special in Gauntlet Gray with the spoked wheels. The Special also comes with some Farkles. I think these crash bars come on it from the factory. The exhaust is aftermarket, I know that, but I'm really glad it's there. When the Rev Max was first coming out in this bike and in the Sportster S and the Nightster, I thought it sounded terrible. I thought it didn't sound like a Harley at all, and I thought it sounded really lame. That is until I heard this one with the Vance and Hines. I think this thing sounds sick. Take a listen. Well, I think that's about enough standing around for now. We'll get back out on the road. There are, of course, a bazillion electronics on this bike. A full-size ADV is generally where you're going to find almost all of a manufacturer's top tech crammed into one model. The Pan America's no exception. Between the electronic suspension, all the Bluetooth connectivity, screen configurability, rider modes, traction control, wheelie control, cornering ABS, linked brakes. There's no way I'm going to go over all of it here in this first impressions video. Heck, I can barely even remember half of it. If there's a piece of tech you can find within the adventure motorcycle category, chances are the Pan America has it. One bit of technology that is commonly found in the full-size ADV segment that's not on the Pan America is shaft drive. This is a chain drive motorcycle. So that means that if you're taking really long road trips, hundreds of miles a day, you do have to worry about chain maintenance. You'll probably be lubing your chain every day, especially if you're getting it dirty or wet. Fortunately though, the bike does have a center stand, so that makes that a little bit easier. So this being an adventure bike and all, I'm sure you're curious to find out how it performs in the dirt. But I didn't ride far enough today to actually reach any dirt roads, so I'll have to film my first encounter with dirt on the Pan America either tomorrow or the next day. And I'll roll that clip in here. Sport, off-road custom. Away we go. So yeah, I've started branching out into the dirt a little bit over the last, I guess, year and a half. I've rented a couple of off-roady bikes and played with them on forest roads, both around here and out in Colorado and Montana. And I've also taken a one-day class at DC Dirt Camp, which was very educational, but I still consider myself to be a beginner. I find that the off-pavement riding I enjoy the most is kind of like this, just unpaved forest roads, just, exploring, like seeing a little dirt offshoot and saying, I wonder where that goes, and following it, and seeing what happens. Huh. Okay. Goodness. I can feel the center stand slapping against the bottom of the bike. You know, this thing is actually a little bit bouncier on like the rocks and washboard than I was expecting it to be. This is a very high-tech electronic suspension, and it's currently in off-road soft mode. But honestly, I wouldn't have guessed it. What I really feel though is the power. Just it doesn't take much, and the bike starts to really want to move forward onto your legs. Now I do. Oh, man. I suck. I need more professional training, and I need more guided experience. I think it's probably about time to turn around. Yes, as we get back into town, DC greets us with a nice little backup. So as we wrap up this first impressions video, let's see, what else have I not touched on? Man, I have tried to cover just about everything. It's not all going to make it in the video. I'm going to be cutting out a lot of hot air. The video is the length that you see, that you're watching right now, but this is how much footage I filmed. And in case you're wondering, that amount of 4K footage weighs this much. So, would I buy a Harley-Davidson Pan America? Yeah, I absolutely would. This is an awesome, awesome motorcycle. I would have a ton of fun with this thing in my garage. It would be kind of my go-to motorcycle for any riding that's outside the city, but maybe within 1 or 2 states of where I live. If I were just commuting around town in the city, then I would want something that is not as big, not as hot, a little more fuel efficient, flows a little more air. This is just too much bike for dedicated city duty. And while it is a good and comfortable highway cruiser, it probably wouldn't be my first choice of motorcycle if I were to ride Pan America. Not saying it can't be done or that it wouldn't be enjoyable, I'm just saying it's not my first pick. That would probably be, I don't know, some kind of major sport tourer with shaft drive, FJR 1300, maybe even a Rocket 3. But all that is assuming that I have a 3-bike garage. If this had to be my only motorcycle, had to do all that, city riding, long distance travel, and just fun riding everywhere else, on and off-road, the Pan Am is a great pick. A really great pick. I do want an adventure bike. I said that a while back, that I was trying to save up for one, and that's still true. I'll be getting a used one. I don't think I'll have new motorcycle money anytime soon, but someday, yeah, I could maybe see myself owning one of these if they prove to be reliable in the long run. So far, in my not all that vast experience, this is the most fun I've had riding an adventure bike. I want to thank you guys for watching today, and I especially want to thank, you guessed it, Volts, the owner of this Pan America Special. It had to be garbage day today. I'm filming this at a movie theater on a Thursday at about 1:30. I figured nobody would be here, but the trash truck is here. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. And until next time, ride safe, and remember, motorcycles are for everyone.